Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are doing a recap and review of The Bachelor season 25 episode 4. So if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. Also turn that notification on so you'll be notified every time there's a post. If you like the video, hit the like button and also drop a comment because I do shout out my viewers and subscribers. So tonight's episode started off with Matt having a hard time dealing with the fact that Sarah had left. As we saw what had happened with Sarah, she couldn't, pretty much with everything going on in the house and then the situation with her father, she left. But Matt seems to have a difficult time dealing with that. Meanwhile, the women are also talking about Sarah leaving, and Victoria said something very harsh. She said the trash has been put out, and I think she actually said the trash took itself out. And I mean, Katie goes on, to tell her and also the other girls that she's gone and there's no reason to continue bashing her. Well, Victoria tells Katie, matter of fact, she'll do whatever she wants. And Katie tells her to go ahead and, be toxic, be rude about it. Victoria tells her, just shut up. And the women are worried that with everything that's going on with the girls, this might, kind of cloud Matt up for the rest of the day and rest of the night. And, the thing is that, yes, she's gone. And it was already explained for her reasoning for leaving. But, I mean, it just made it worse because I think one of the other girls saying if you're not strong enough to handle it, well, that wasn't the only reason that she left. She also was concerned about her father. And I don't know if you saw her interview. Go check that out. It's pretty good, but she really goes into detail about what, has happened. So Matt is now on a group date. And he also addresses Sarah there as well. He said, just help him focus on what and who is important. MJ was one of the girls who was the first one to spend some time with Matt. And I mean, just the fact that, he tried to not only help himself get through Sarah leaving, but also help the girls feel a little bit more comfortable. But back to, of course, MJ, he got some time, to focus with her. And she tells him that she worries about him and that it's hard. And even the day itself was hard. Matt has a great time with the women. But he definitely loves how much, of course, they have opened up with him. And, of course, he does get a chance to have a sit-down conversation with some of the other girls. So even though Sarah had left and, she had every right, especially she said she needed to do that for her own mental health. And then, of course, the concern for her father. Hey, she had to do what was best for her. But at the same time, Matt also made it where it didn't kind of shake up everything in the house. So he did appreciate the fact of knowing what was going on, but at the same time wanted to reassure the girls that, at this point we need to move forward. So now he definitely has a sit down with Chelsea. And Chelsea brought up something interesting about her hair situation. She said that she's always wore long straight hair, but she got to the point where she didn't want her hair to define who she is. So at that point, she decided to cut her hair off. And I know this is something that my niece actually did for a period of time as well. And I know with Chelsea, she really, really, felt liberated by what she did. So I appreciate the fact they bring that up. Now, Victoria is now having a conversation with Katie, and she tells her that she didn't like how, she tried to shut her down in the group conversation and that she wanted an apology. And she was just expressing herself. And Katie says, look, name calling is not expressing yourself. It's toxic and it is rude. And I do agree that this is something she definitely shouldn't be doing. But then, Victoria started to talk about Katie's vibrator, and she tells her, she's confident about it and it's not her business. Victoria insists that, she apologized, and Katie tells her that she's not getting it. And then, these two just continue to go back and forth. I honestly think, Katie was wasting her time. I appreciate exactly what Katie is doing. I'm actually on her side with this, but Victoria wasn't hearing it. So back at the date where Matt is with the girls, Matt gives his group date rose to Chelsea, who she couldn't be happier. I mean, she was really excited. I don't know if she probably even expected that, but of course she couldn't be happier. And then of course Matt leaves the girls, and he thanks them all for an amazing evening. So I'm glad that he seems to not just give it all to the same person, every time, but I'm glad that he's kind of exploring his connections and seeing where it all goes. So now it's time for the cocktail party, which of course is before the rose ceremony. And apparently we have Anna here who wants to have some time with Matt first. And Victoria is definitely saying, no, that's a no-go. She is Elsa, and she is going first. Now, I don't know if you guys know what that refers to, but I was like, she had to pull that out of the air to fit this scenario. But it doesn't look like she was the one to get that opportunity first, because of course Matt ended up having some time with Piper, and of course that left Victoria back with the girls having conversation. And then we also have Kit now having an opportunity with Matt. And Matt said he loves being around her, and she impresses him so much. And, the more time he spends with these ladies, the more his connections is actually growing. He actually gets some time with Katie as well. I really don't see an initial connection. I do like her personality. And I know on social media, a lot of folks are saying she should be the next Bachelorette. So I don't know. We shall see. I like the fact of how noble she is and how she stand up for people. But their conversation went pretty well. And then, of course, he had a little sit down with Bree, and him and Bree always have a connection. Anytime that they're together, at the beginning of the season, I actually picked her to be one of my final four. I don't know if that's going to be the case because we have other girls coming in, but Victoria finally gets her opportunity to have some conversation with Matt. And right at that point, Chris Harrison decides to crash the party. And he pulls Matt away, and of course he didn't give any details, but, there's nothing Victoria can do. I mean, she can't object. So, of course he gives her a hug and he takes off with Chris. And the look on Victoria's face, you definitely can tell that she is annoyed. But hey, it is what it is. So, of course, they storm right through, where the girls were. And the rest of the women see Matt and Chris. They make a beeline right for the front door, and they can feel a shift in their energy. Now, a lot of folks, the girls are thinking that Sarah had came back. Oh, it's like, oh yeah, Sarah's back. But Chris tells Matt that the purpose of him being there is to meet the woman of his dreams. Maybe he has already, maybe not. But because he's the Bachelor, he has to take this journey. So the first woman that gets out of the limo is Brittany. And she's a 23-year-old model from Chicago. She goes straight away in for a kiss and want to make up for lost time. And these girls are looking at her like, whoa, who is that? And then we have Michelle, who's next, who is 27. She's a teacher from Edina, Minnesota. And I absolutely love that dress. I mean, it looks so cute on her. And she's a natural beauty, too. I mean, I like her persona and everything. And her dress looks really nice. So it seemed like they made a little bit of a connection, too. And then next is Ryan. Ryan is 26. She is a dancer / choreographer from Brooklyn, New York. And then our last girl, who, well, not last, second to last, is Kim, who's 28, and she's a ICU nurse from Los Angeles. And then, of course, the girls are just like, what is going on? This is not fair. And then last but not least, we have another queen in the house, and that is Miss Puerto Rico from Caguas, Puerto Rico. Her name is Catalina. And she has a crown on her head. And of course, as she walk into the room, the first person to spot her is Victoria. And Victoria gets her to come over because, of course, she thinks she's the only queen in the house. But she asked her to come over and, gives her a hug. And I'm surprised folks didn't want her. Like, I don't think you want to do that. But then she takes off her crown and put it on her head instead. And then she take it off and just sit it on the table. And I know Catalina was looking like, who is this? It just took my crown, then set it down. So we see Matt again, and he is absolutely overwhelmed. 5 more women come into the house, which of course makes decisions that much tougher. But he also said there's a 100% chance there'll be a lot more hostility and drama too. Meanwhile, we got the women who are, they're not doing too good about all of this, and they're afraid that they're going to be put in the back burner, so you can tell by the expressions on the girls' face that they are not happy about this, because some of these girls who have already been there for 3 weeks, they actually have not had enough time. So now here come 5 more girls. Are they going to jump in front of the line and get the time that they thought they should have gotten? So, yeah, you see a lot of disappointed faces here, and, they're not happy to see these girls, and they're definitely giving them a hard time with this. So now we have Anna, who's having a conversation with one of the girls about how she thinks she knows this girl, and that I think that, folks are saying back home in Chicago that she is an escort. It flips back to... and we'll talk about that later. That's why I kind of stopped midstream. But then, of course, Victoria gets the opportunity to talk with Matt. However, we got Brittany coming over, and she interrupts and takes over Matt. And so she gets to have some conversation and some time to get to know him. Which, one thing I do notice about this show, and of course The Bachelorette, is that you kind of have to get your opportunity. You can't just sit back in the cut, but at the same time, you don't want to be rude and disrespectful. Kayla is upset, and she can't believe the more women that's there has now been put in the equation over everybody else. We have Mari wondering what Matt is thinking, and she's concerned about herself and her feelings. But Kayla she's struggling with the fact that she's not getting time. And I think with this, you might have to be a little bit assertive without being rude. That's the only thing that I can think of. Now, this young lady, Michelle, she definitely made an impression, I should say, on Matt, and they just instantly clicked. The connection was organic. I mean, they were laughing, and, the dialogue was smooth between them. I actually like this girl because I was a Brie fan. Brie got a little bit of competition here with Michelle. So we'll definitely see how far this is going to go. Okay, so it's now time for the rose ceremony, and Matt always have Chris coming in, telling him let's get this show started. But Matt tells Chris that he could have never imagined getting another 5 women in the room. It's really intense. So the first rose that we have, it goes to MJ, and then the next rose goes to Piper. And then we have Brie getting a rose, of course. And then Michelle get a rose. There's the competition I was talking about. Then we also have Mari, and then Ryan, and then, of course, and her hair is so pretty. And then we have Kit. And then we also have Serena. And then we have, of course, Abigail. And then after Abby, or I should say Abigail, I don't know if they call her Abby. We also have Katie. Victoria gets a rose, which is shocking to everybody. But, you know, it's people are thinking that she's just there because for drama, but I'm not sure. And then we have Lauren. Brittany get a rose. And then, of course, Yesenia gets a rose. Anna also gets a rose. And then the final person that gets a rose, which leaves a lot of folks on their toes, is Catalina, the second queen in the house. So, of course, you know, that leaves Kayla. She's going home. And then one of the other girls going home. I don't remember her name. And a lot of people are not happy about the fact that 4 out of the 5 new girls stayed. And then at the same time, she made a toast, meaning Catalina. And of course, you have Victoria rolling her eyes. And then, you know, some of the other girls in this case, and I think this is MJ, who thinks that the new women are naive and they don't know what they're getting themselves into coming into the house. So they all get together and toast the evening off. And of course, they, you know, look forward to moving forward to what's next. So the next morning we have Chris visiting the girls, and he also welcomed in the new girls. Matt, as I stated before, gave 4 out of the 5 women roses. And of course, these ladies who have been here for 3 weeks are not happy about that. And Victoria says that she's going to show them who's the queen of the house. And, you know, she's hoping that they will drop like flies. So we have a date card. And on that date card, we have, of course, Mari. Then we have Bree. Abigail is also part of this group date. Then we have Brittany. And then after Brittany, we have Ryan. And then, of course, Catalina, Maggie, Anna, and Victoria. So, you know, it seems like they're lukewarm excited. You can tell by their faces. They're like, okay, I'm up for a group date. But I really think most of these girls want that one-on-one. But the card stated, let's fall in love, Matt. So then we move on to where we see Ben Higgins from Bachelor season 20. He visited Matt, who, you know, Matt wants his input about the process. And of course, Matt is happy to speak with them. He felt the tension in the room and he want to make sure he's doing the right thing. So Ben and Matt meet up with the women for this group date, and Ben tells them he's setting up an obstacle course called the Fall in Love Fest. Now, we got Station 1, where they get into a 1,000-pound pumpkin and roll across the lake. And then they dress up in costumes at Station 2 to find an acorn and carry it like a squirrel. And then they have to walk across this balance beam, drop it in the bucket, and it's a foot race to the finish. And the winner gets a very special prize, and we'll see who the winner. But before I say that, I just thought that it looked like a lot of fun. I like these type of group dates where, you know, it's interactive, you're having fun, kind of like what you would see at a family reunion or picnic game. These type of games I do like. So let me know what you guys think. And of course, our winner is Mari. So she gets the acorn trophy. And that's a big acorn trophy. I wonder how much that thing weighs. Okay, so now it's time for the after party. And Matt says he loves the after party. So that's because that's his opportunity to, you know, get to know the girls better. So Anna is definitely thrilled to have Matt grab her first and sit down and chat with her. And I don't see the connection. Obviously, you know, he has to have these conversations to explore to see if there is anything. I don't see anything there with Anna. And maybe it's because of the things outside of what she's doing. But we also see that conversation, too, where we have Anna and also Victoria talking about Brittany. And how, of course, Anna knows her from Chicago, and that she hangs out with men for money. And I just, it's salacious if it's not. I mean, even if it was true, it's nobody's business but hers. But it makes it worse when it's something that's a rumor that becomes something that can destroy a person's life. And, of course, that's talked about a little bit later. But, Anna is definitely really pushing this thing. And I mean, I'm surprised that they aired it. But I don't know if this is something that a teaching lesson or what. So now there's a date card, and the date card is a one-on-one date card. And, of course, the girls, are wondering, like, oh, I hope it's me. I hope it's me. And the person who gets it is Michelle, and she's a newbie. So, of course, the girls that are already there, you can tell by their faces, like, how is she going to come in and get a date? And we've been here and we haven't had a one-on-one. I know a couple of them maybe had, but they're still, nevertheless, they're still upset and they're not happy about it. So now we have where, of course, Anna wants to speak with Brittany. And she says, coming on to this, she was getting messages from people in Chicago saying to watch out for her because she was hearing that she's an escort. And of course, Brittany is like, what do you mean? You've been spreading this around to people here? I am not an escort, and that's so ridiculous to say. And making it a conclusion about her even before getting to know her is BS. Now, with that, she's feeling that everybody in the house is against her. And then, of course, Victoria weighs in, and you know how that goes. So now it's time for Michelle to have her one-on-one date with Matt. And they're going on a scavenger hunt first. And, of course, Chris Harrison constructed this just like he did earlier in this season and with Tayshia season 2. The first clue is a leap about faith. They both also get harnessed up to have a zip line across the wilderness. And oh my God, that looks like it's so much fun. I've done it once. I would love to do that again. Michelle lands first, so she beats Matt down there. And then they pop balloons. And then they find another clue after they pop balloons. And it's a hot air balloon ride. And of course, like I said, the chemistry between these two were instant. I mean, he's just, I've never seen him so far, maybe with Bree, how he was just really comfortable with her. And they were like they've known each other for years. And of course, the women are watching, and of course, that's not making them happy. And I think even Victoria said that by seeing them in this hot air balloon, it makes her want to vomit. So, I mean, a lot of the girls, they were definitely like, oh, wow, But honestly, this chemistry right here, I'm loving it. I want to know what you guys think about Michelle and Matt. And I call him Eminem when I was watching. I'm like, ooh, Michelle and Matt, that sound good together. But I love this couple. Okay, so another group date card arrives. And on this group date, we have Katie, Piper, Serena P, Rachel, Kit, Chelsea, Yesenia, Lauren, Serena C, MJ. And they look excited, and honestly, I think these girls going on this group date was a little bit more excited about it than the other girls going on the other group date. Maybe it was just me, I'm not sure, but these girls look like they were really up to it. And so we kind of got some happy faces on this one, but the group date is going to be pretty interesting, which we are going to talk about shortly. But I'm just, it was interesting to see that they did, in this particular episode, they actually got 3 separate dates, 2 group dates and a one-on-one. So it was definitely a lot of content in this episode. So now we have Matt and his date with Michelle for dinner. And I'm telling you, again, they were connecting over a lot of different deep topics. Of course, one of the things they talk about was her teaching, and then he also worked with kids too. She says that she always wanted to do something where she's helping people to make a difference. They also talked about the fact of her living in Minnesota with the George Floyd situation back in June. They addressed that and how she had to, be that conversation piece with the kids. And of course, the parents wanted her to have this conversation as well. So they definitely bonded on some deep topics so soon because they just met. And of course, she got that rose from him. And Michelle says this is the best date that anyone could ever hope for. So now we have both, we have the conversation with Brittany and Katie. And Brittany's upset about the rumor that she's an escort. And of course, Katie is sympathizing with her. She has had rumors said about her, and it's not a pleasant situation to be in. And it really isn't. I mean, the thing is, rumors can be so vicious. I've seen that across many of these different shows, whether it's on the show, whether it's the fans and the viewers. You got some folks out there that's out for blood, and rumors can really ruin a person's life. That's one reason why on my channel I try to stay neutral. I stick to the different things that I see in the show, and I keep it at that. So now we are on this next group date. Matt is working out, and the women arrive at the date as well. Mia St. John is there, and she tells the women that they're going to be fighting in front of a live audience. And so this part of the date is practice that they're on. So now they're at the battle for the Bachelor. Wells is there, along with Chris Harrison in the judge box. Wells is always popping up. If it isn't Bachelor Paradise, he's just part of Bachelor Nation. So Katie and Yesenia are the first ones to match up. In this round, Katie wins. And then we have the two Serenas. Well, we have Serena C versus Kit. And what I said, two Serenas. Serena C versus Kit. And then we have another match where Lauren gets a jab to the throat. And I think at this point, at first, it was like, whoa, but I think Matt was like, you know what? Nope, we're done. That's it. That looked really bad. When you hit somebody in the throat, Matt was like, it's a wrap. And I got to give kudos to Matt on this to say, you know what? Let's just end this right here. He could have just said nothing. I'm surprised, the production team and Chris didn't say anything, but I really like the fact that Matt was like, you know what, we're cutting this. I'm not going to let these girls get hurt. So it really shows the empathy and compassion that, he has. And, of course, he consoles her for getting hit in the nose. And then there's time for the after party. Matt felt that the early part of the date was very stressful, and he made a toast to the women. Rachel was the first one to spend some time with Matt. He do get to spend some other time, and I think this is with Piper. But in the meantime, we have back at the home where the girls are, Anna and Victoria is talking. And, Victoria say Brittany is a serial killer weird, and she could be an escort. And Kathlena is the dumbest HOE she's ever met. I mean, just mean girl type behavior. And to me, it's not cool. I'm hoping ABC is coming out with, hey, you know how CBS daytime or some of the other daytime TV, they get in and they try to show, things to help with bullying or breast cancer or awareness to different things. I'm hoping that they just pull this out and say, hey, this is why we did what we did. Otherwise, I don't understand why this was aired. Just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. We also have Katie, who is listening to, because some of these girls, even though they're not being as viciously verbal as Anna and Victoria about the girls, they're still having sidebar conversation. And this is not sitting well with Katie at all. And I don't blame her. I hate bullying. I hope you guys too. I've never seen anything good come from it. And I'm glad that she took the initiative to go over to Matt and say, look, um, I want to talk to you about the bullying in the house, the nasty things that are being said about the new girls that could actually ruin these women's lives. And she asked him to address it the next morning. And the great thing about this, she didn't throw folks under the bus. She didn't name drop. She just said, something's going on and please address it. That's all I'm going to say, and then she kept it like that. So I like the nobility that she did here. Guys, we got to remember the power of the tongue, whether you're a viewer and you're reacting to something you're seeing on TV, because some of the other shows, not here on Bachelor as much, but some of the other shows that I'm reviewing are really being vicious where, legal has to be involved. So just take note of that when you type. All right, so we're going to do our post notifications shout out this week. It goes to Kashif Jawade. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you so much for engaging the channel. I really, really, truly appreciate your comment. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon.